Welcome to another episode of Theological Pipe. News, culture, sports, politics, and everything else from a theological perspective.
It's all summed up in love.
What should I do? Tell me. God is good. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give me peace. Give me peace.
Put that in your theological pipe and smoke it. Hey, welcome to another episode of Theological Pipe. If you're on Google or Apple or Spotify, click subscribe. If you're on YouTube, click the subscribe button, the like button, the comment button, all that kind of stuff. Going to do a couple things today. First thing, going to be kind of lighthearted a little bit. Got the new update for iOS 14. You're not going to be able to see it very good on my screen. I'm not going to do like a big techie update or review of it. It's pretty cool. I have a decent phone plan with T-Mobile, who I've been with for a while, and I'm on the thing called Jump On Demand, and I can get an updated phone every month if I wanted to. I could do it every month. I'm on like some grandfathered plan. So I switch between Apple and Google phones all the time, Apple and Android. I came from the Note 10 Plus to the iPhone 11 Pro Max. And I usually get, update my phones every few months. I just like doing that kind of stuff. So iOS 14 came out. It's decent. There's widgets, stuff that Android has had for a long time, but it's got the side screen that's pretty cool. You can add some widgets. It's got an app library, which is the same thing as an app drawer. There's some, like I said, some really cool things that you can do with it. It's updated. It looks neat. It looks nice. It works good. That's one of the things that Apple has for it is that, their phrase is it just works. It does. If you're into customization, you'd probably like Android better. But you can now customize it a little bit more. It makes it a little more exciting for you. The thing about Apple that I appreciate, I guess, and the part that was making me laugh today, on Apple's website, you can go to all these places, they were going to start rolling out the update. And I'm in Oklahoma, and when I checked the website, it said the iOS 14, and it was also for the iPad, is going to roll out at noon, 12 o'clock. So 12 o'clock comes, I'm at work, hit my refresh button to go check for software updates, nothing happens. So I keep working, 15 minutes later, check again, nothing happens. 20 minutes later, check again, nothing happens. Not a big deal. I'm working. I'm excited for new updates. I like messing around with technology and stuff, but it's no big deal to me. Get a little break at work, start, going on to Twitter and some of the tech blogs, and it says, Apple said it's delayed. It's going to be ready about 2:30 to 4 o'clock or 2:30 to 4:30, somewhere in that window. It's like, okay, not a big deal. So I keep working. I go to lunch, come back. About 2:30, 3 o'clock, somewhere in there, I hit the software update button on my iPhone, and iOS is there, and you click download, and it installs. It took 30 minutes, an hour to install, and I get it, and I get to play with it. It's like I said, it's neat. New operating systems, new updates are always kind of fun if you're kind of nerdy like I am. And it was fun, but the part that made me laugh is so many of the people on Twitter and on these tech blogs were like up in arms at Apple for having a software update that they said was going to come out today. It came out today, and it was like an hour and a half delayed. And Apple's updates are a lot different than like Google updates, because when Android updates something, it not only has to update, but then the carriers have to update, and some phones don't get updated at the same time, and sometimes the Google Pixel phones will get updated first, and then if you're on T-Mobile, you might get a later update than if you're with a different carrier, if you're with AT&T. Apple pushes their updates out to all the phones that are able, and this was from iPhone 6 and up. So iPhone 6, 7, 8, 10, and 11. All those phones are getting the update, and all the iPads are getting the update, and it's being pushed out at the same time, and people are complaining because it's an hour and a half delayed. Do we have to complain about every single thing in life? A phone was just got a new update, and it's got some cool stuff on it, and it's fun to play with, and I get it, you get excited, and I get you watch the presentations and you want it, but really, Apple, why do you do this to us? Oh, I can't believe how you make promises that you can't keep. you got the update. Go play with it. It's cool. But it is a cool update. If you haven't updated your phone yet, like I said, it's got some cool little tweaks. Nothing really changes, and I think that's kind of what Apple does. They try to keep things the same. And when they make sort of changes like this, it's cool, but it really doesn't change your experience. Again, I appreciate Apple for what they are. The Note series are probably my favorite phones of all time, and I like those just because of the Note stylus that you can use and the fact that you can customize just about anything you want to. And so both operating systems have their benefits. I'm with Apple now because I got the iPad Pro and I got a Mac, and like I said, they all work good together, so that's kind of why I'm on the iPhone right now. So if you haven't got the update, it's a good one. Like I said, cool stuff, cool widgets, some cool little tweaks, like on your messaging app, you can now pin some conversations to the top, so you don't have to scroll through to find, your wife or your kids and stuff like that. And I would show it to you if it looked better in the camera. But again, you can watch other tech videos that will show you what it can do. But it's a cool update. I just was laughing at how many people were complaining and whining and upset about the fact that it was an hour late. I know when I was when I was on Android, I would wait sometimes months to get an update that had been pushed out. So I think with updates and stuff, I think Apple does it right. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is I don't know if you've depending on how old you are and if you follow politics, and I follow politics and I really don't like it because it's divisive, because it's turned into a show. Nobody cares about the truth. Nobody really wants to work to solve problems. They just want to work to maintain power and get their base riled up and make money and all that stuff. And every once in a while they'll come together and do something good. But it's just politics. Like I said, it's interesting, but it's frustrating because there are some problems that can be fixed really easily, but it seems like nobody wants to fix it. So one of the things that has made me laugh about politics is not just the politicians and what they do, but the way the media covers it. And I don't know if you remember when George W. Bush was running for president, his first term, he picked Dick Cheney as his vice presidential nominee. He was running. And on the Sunday shows, the Sunday news shows, after he made the pick, it was like there was a memo went out saying, hey, we're going to describe this pick with a single word. And if you remember this, you'll remember the word. If you remember that time, it was gravitas. This pick by George Bush really shows he added some needed gravitas to his ticket. You have George Bush and Dick Cheney, and Dick Cheney had some experience and did some things in Washington. George Bush really hadn't, and so the pick of Dick Cheney added some serious gravitas. And it was on ABC and NBC and CBS and all the news shows were like gravitas, and they pounded that word home for almost a week, and it's like, where did they come up with that word? I mean, I know what the word means, and if you want the definition, it's dignity, seriousness, or solemnity of manner. So what Dick Cheney added was some seriousness to the ticket because George Bush was a cowboy, and George Bush wasn't that smart, and George Bush was a buffoon, and George Bush had a checkered past, and Dick Cheney was going to add the seriousness to it. So they added that word, that gravitas word, and every one of them was saying it, and there's no doubt that they probably, I don't know, back then at phones, text, maybe on the, whatever, hey, did you know we need to use gravitas to talk about Dick Cheney? Yeah, it's a good word, let's use it. I doubt now it would have been different if like there was one Sunday show and one analyst used that word and then somebody else heard it and said, ooh, that's a good word, I'm going to use it. And then someone else heard it and they said, ooh, that's a good word, I'm going to use it. It's not what happened. Every one of them used it at the same time, basically the same time. And it was pretty evident that the media talked to each other and said, this is the word we're going to use. And it hasn't stopped. It's actually gotten worse since then. That the media, I'll say colludes. They work together to push an agenda, to push a story, to frame a story the way they want to. There was an actual list called the journolist. And it was just a group of journalists that would share, hey, let's cover stories this way. Let's talk about this way. Let's not cover this that way. Let's really attack this guy. Let's really not attack this person. And so they use that list to push stories, to coordinate the message that they're going to push out. Again, not the most ethical thing in the world. And then if you want to go even further, if you go to the 2016 presidential campaign when it was Trump versus Clinton, before Trump was the nominee, and if you go to WikiLeaks, you can read these emails. Major media networks, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, Washington Post, New York Times, all the mainstream media networks, it was proven that there were email exchanges between the Democratic National Committee, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and these news organizations and these reporters saying, we need to cover this story to make Hillary Clinton look good. We need to frame this story to make Donald Trump look bad. We want to make sure that you're aware that this story is going to come out, and so here's the way that we should respond to it because it might make Hillary look bad. And that's these were emails that went out showing that there was collusion, actual collusion between media members who were supposed to be objective and the arbiters of truth and just give us the facts. Media members from major networks and the Democratic National Committee and the Hillary Clinton campaign. And it just was like so odd to me. I mean, we know that it happens. We know that Fox is right-wing and they're going to push stories in a right-wing way to help the Republicans. And we know that every other network is left-leaning and they're going to push stories to help the Democrats. But you at least had the naive hope that they weren't framing stories, that they weren't holding back stories or pushing stories to frame a narrative, but that's what they were doing. And the most disappointing thing about that to me, and I've shared my journalism my journalism class story a few episodes ago, the thing that was frustrating to me and upsetting to me was when this happened, when WikiLeaks came out and showed that there was collusion, showed that journalists and networks were working with a presidential campaign to try to push a narrative that they wanted to. And there's even emails that show that they even tried to frame the Republican primaries to make sure that Trump was the nominee because he would be the easiest one to beat for Hillary Clinton, which didn't work out very well, obviously. But after these WikiLeaks came out, after these emails came out, and it showed that there was collusion, not one person was fired. Not one person offered a mea culpa. Not one person apologized. Not one network president came on and said, we're going to do better. We can't do this. We have to be objective for the American people. We're the press. We're part of the First Amendment, and we have a responsibility to the American people, and we shouldn't be doing what we just did. Not one person did that. Not one person apologized. No heads rolled, which obviously should have happened, but it didn't. And it continued. We can talk about pushing fake news. The mainstream media has pushed a Russia collusion, Ukraine problems. They dove into the post office thing. They talked about Legos, and it just the things that they do are just ridiculous and kind of sad. And they continue to do it. They continue to collude. They continue to frame narratives and push narratives, and it's just silly. And the godsend or the blessing of social media, even though it's a cesspool sometimes, even though Twitter is just horrible sometimes, at least it allows people who know the truth and know that things are being false and know that we're pushing false stories, they can come out and say, wait a second, that's not true. That's not what he said. There's another part of the quote that you're leaving out, or there's another part of the sentence that you left out, and you're trying to frame a narrative again, and let's talk about that in all honesty. And again, both sides do it, and it's ridiculous, but I was blown away that this happened. Not blown away, but it just is almost silly to me. So this is, and I think this will work. I'm going to try to put a picture up here if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not, I'll try to explain what the picture is. But this is a tweet from Jamel Hill, and if you follow her on Twitter, you don't need to because it's not worth anything. If you don't follow her, don't, because you don't need to. But there's a picture that Corinne Jean-Pierre, her tweet it says the Timbs, Timbs, and there's a picture of Kamala Harris coming out of an airplane wearing some Timberlands, some boots, and she's walking. And of course, the press took the greatest pic, made it look really good and really, really professional and almost like a Hollywood, photo. And then Jamel Hill says, "This has got to become a thing. Every time Senator Harris deplanes, she gotta come through with something. I suggest Iverson question mids the next trip." And then there's another picture that they had. It's Davis and Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance had the picture, and it says Kamala Harris may have made Timberland boots cool again, and they have a picture of her kind of surveying some damage from some fires. And then this Davis guy, I don't know, Davis Hunsinger, don't know who he is, but he goes, Kamala Harris, VP nominee, standing in wildfire destruction and devastation shoes. And then one more real quick. It's this one. Now she's coming. This was a few days ago. She's coming off the plane. And the Huffington Post says Chuck Taylors were trending for hours after vice presidential candidate sported the look in Milwaukee. And it says, like a boss. Twitter users are raving about Kamala Harris's campaign and that she sported this look in Milwaukee. And that's what we're talking about, is her shoes. That's what they're going to push. And these are journalists pushing this. If you can go look at it, now once the journalists started pushing it, then you have the lemmings. Oh, she's so cool. Oh, the shoes. It's amazing. It's wonderful. But this wasn't some like grassroots thing where someone spotted her wearing Chuck Taylors and they decided, hey, let's push this out. Oh, look how cool that is. And just regular normal people started tweeting about it or talking about it, and then the media picked up on it. This was a media manufactured thing from the beginning. And you can't tell me it's not. You can't tell me that this blows my mind that they're going to do this again. And the worst part about it is, to me, is not that they're doing it, but they're pushing her shoes. This is the vice presidential nominee. This is a lady that, if we're going to be honest, Joe Biden, his mind is not all there. If you've seen I know Trump just had an interview thing on 2020, and he's Trump. He is what he is, but at least he sits there and answers questions from people who obviously were plants in that interview, in that town hall, and he sits there and answers them. At least I don't like his answers sometimes, but he answers, and he can talk back and have a conversation. Joe Biden can't even keep a conversation when he has a teleprompter in front of him, and he's really having some issues with talking. So Kamala Harris, I'm saying her name wrong, Senator Harris, is a heartbeat away from the presidency. And she even had a flub where she said a Harris-Biden campaign. And then Joe Biden said the same thing. He messed it up. He said a Harris-Biden. It's Biden-Harris. Biden is the presidential nominee. Harris is the vice presidential nominee. But it's fairly obviously that she's going to be fairly important in this. And what do they push? What is the media rallying around? What are they pushing? Her shoes. Not her record as the California Attorney General, which was abysmal. Not her record as a senator, because there's really not a whole lot there to push. And definitely not her performance in the Democratic primaries. She was horrible. Nobody liked her. Nobody in the Democratic field or the Democratic primaries even voted for her. She was near the bottom of all the time. So what the media decides they're going to do is they're going to create a viral thing that happens with Senator Harris, and hey, we're gonna notice her shoes. We're not going to talk about her career as Attorney General. We're not going to talk about her career as a senator. We're not going to talk about her performance in the primaries. We're definitely not going to talk about the fact that she called Joe Biden a racist and a sexual abuser and then tried to laugh it off like, hey, I was just lying. It was a debate. We can't talk about that. So what are we going to do? We're going to Hollywood her shoes up. That's what we're going to do. And it's amazing to me that they're doing it again. It's amazing to me that it's obviously manufactured. It's amazing to me that, they're okay, you're going to walk down the plane. They're talking to each other. Hey, you're going to walk down the plane. And when you do, take a big, deep stride, and we'll take a bunch of pictures. We'll pick out the best picture that makes you look the greatest. And your shoes are going to be front and foremost. And then we're going to have Jamel Hill. And then we're going to have Yahoo Finance. And then we're going to have all these other media places push out the picture and say, oh, it's trending. And then we're going to have Twitter make sure that it's trending on the top topics, so then it can kind of start this viral thing. It's not really viral, it's fake viral, but we're going to push it so then we can talk about your shoes. And it's just dumb. It's just idiotic. Shoes. That's what we're talking about. And there's a couple on Twitter, on a couple places, I was like saying, yeah, that's what we're doing now. We're going to talk about her shoes, not her stances on anything, not her policies, not her accomplishments, her shoes. That's what we're talking about, shoes. Good job. It's going back to the gravitas thing. We're going to take one word and push it out there. Now we're going to focus on her shoes. And it's just silly. And the good part is, I say good part, the one thing is at least it's transparent to people. At least because of social media, people can see how it started. People can see what's going on. And it's going to happen again in the next couple of days. She's going to be wearing some Air Jordans or, some Hurt Me boots or something. And people can be like, oh my gosh, look at her choice of style. And it's amazing that it always, when it comes to Democrats, it's always style, it's always beauty, it's always wonderfulness. And then when it comes to some Republican woman Republican woman. I was going to say, Melania Trump or some senator or something that's wearing something. Ooh, she's wearing these expensive shoes. How dare she? Look at that coat she's wearing. How could she wear that? It's always the opposite. And the media really needs to stop doing this kind of stuff and really get back to what they're supposed to do, which is tell the truth and not push idiocy. And not push this ridiculousness. It'd be one thing if they were pushing a story like, hey, did you know, Senator Harris was responsible for a program that feeds, 1 million children every year? Let's push that. Hey, did you know that, Senator Harris is responsible for prison reform, which she's not. She did a whole bunch of really bad things when she was Attorney General. But push things that are accomplishments, not her shoes. And then if you're one of the journalists that are pushing her shoe story, is that what you went to college for? Is that what you went and studied for? Is that what you dreamed of doing when you were a journalist? Is I can't wait to get on Twitter and push someone's shoes as the main story of the day and pretend that it's viral when it's not. It's just, to me, it's just sad. And so when I saw that, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The media's at it again. They collude. They talk to each other. They frame stories the way they want to frame them. And it's just ridiculous to me on both sides, right and left. Now, I'm talking about the left here. You could criticize people for things, and that's the worst part about this to me is the media has a job to do, and they're failing miserably. And they don't ask tough questions to people. They don't hound people the way they're supposed to. I wish they would. I have no problem with people going hard on the president. I have no problem with people, going after him and making him answer questions over and over and over again, and ask him about the results, and ask him about what he did, and ask him why he did it, and ask him why he's going to pass this policy, and ask him why he's going to do something. But do it for Biden as well. Do it for Harris as well. And the media, like I said, I'm not on the train where the media is the enemy. I wasn't on the train where I thought the media was the enemy of the people, like Trump had said. But believe it or not, again, I'm not a big Trump guy, but he's right. He's 100% right. His press secretary, Michaela, what's her name? I don't know. His press secretary, the blonde-headed girl. That's how much I pay attention. She's savage. And here's the worst part. She had a press conference today. And at the end of it, she takes the media to task. Why? Because they asked about masks. They asked about COVID. They asked about a whole slew of things, which they should. But not one person in the media thought it was important to ask the press secretary for the President of the United States about the historic Middle East peace deals that are going on. And when I say historic. I trust them as far as I can throw them. I know that you're dealing with people in the Middle East who have different ideas and different ideals and different beliefs than we do. But the fact that there are some things going on when it comes to moving the embassy to Jerusalem, getting the United Arab Emirates and some other countries to recognize Israel, and then all of a sudden Saudi Arabia might, and all these things are going on. These are historic. And you could even say, since this is Theological Pipe, some of it is biblical. This is an amazing, amazing thing that's going on. I know it's in the infancy. I know it just happened. I know it could be broken at any time, but this is historic. And she came out and said, hey, you know what's funny? It's here we are. We just had a press conference. Not one of you asked me about the deal, about the peace deal. Not one of you asked me about this. She even said, if this was the Obama White House, you all would have asked about it and been touting it as some great achievement. But because it's Donald Trump, we're not going to do it. And that's a problem. I think that's one of the biggest problems that is going on is that, if you don't like the guy, you still have to give him props when he does something right. If you don't like the guy, you still have to give him, an attaboy when something amazing happens. And I'm sorry, Middle East peace, even if it's just small steps, they're still steps. And so that's the media's got to do better. it's just got to do better. That's just it. And so, put that in your theological pipe and smoke it. My pipe went out, so I have to restart it. But hey, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.
Money's gotta be the shoes. Shoes. You sure it's not the shoes?